I never thought the day would come when my own daughter would look me in the eyes, smile sweetly, and hand me a check that felt like a slap. My name is Linda, I'm 63, and for 30 years I poured my heart into running a 200-acre ranch with my late husband. That land wasn't just dirt and fences, it was my life, my memories, my security. But last month, my daughter Hannah sold it behind my back for $3 million, and the day she showed up with that smug little slip of paper, offering me $16,000 to live comfortably in my old age, I realized I didn't just lose my land. I lost my trust in the one person I thought would protect me. Hannah, I said, my voice breaking as I held the check. What is this? She crossed her arms, her designer purse glinting in the sun. It's your share, Mom. Be grateful. Do you know how much trouble I went through to close that deal? I stared at her, numb. Your share. That ranch was mine. Your father and I. Oh please, she interrupted, rolling her eyes. Dad left it in my name because he knew you'd waste it. You don't understand investments. I do. $3 million, Mom. You should be thanking me. The ground tilted under me. All those years branding cattle, repairing fences, raising her under that wide Texas sky, and she called it a waste. My voice trembled, but anger simmered beneath. You think I don't know what you've done? You think I don't know who you sold it to? Her smirk faltered. She didn't answer, but her silence was louder than words. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with that check staring back at me, my hands shaking as I thought of everything we'd lost. And then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number lit up the screen. The ranch wasn't sold. It was stolen. Meet me tomorrow if you want the truth. I froze, my heart hammering. Who would send me that? And what truth could make this betrayal any worse than it already was? Before I go further, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you love shocking real-life family stories. Because what I found out next made Hannah's betrayal look small compared to the storm that was coming. The message wouldn't leave my mind all night. By morning, curiosity and fury had tangled so tight inside me that I decided I had to go. The address they sent was an old diner off Highway 12, the kind of place truckers stopped at for coffee and pie. My heart hammered as I slid into a booth near the window, clutching the $16,000 check in my purse like proof of Hannah's betrayal. 10 minutes later, a man in his late 50s walked in. Rugged face, dusty boots, hat pulled low. He moved like someone who knew the land, and when his eyes met mine, I knew he wasn't a stranger to the ranch. He sat across from me without asking. Linda, he said, voice low, my name's Ray. I worked with your husband before he passed. I know what really happened with the sale. I stiffened. What do you mean stolen? Hannah sold it. I saw the papers. He shook his head. No, she was tricked. Or maybe she was in on it. I can't say for sure, but the man she signed with, he's not a buyer. He's a front for a development company that's been after your ranch for years. The land's worth more than $3 million, at least 10. They took advantage of her greed and your trust. My chest tightened. 10 million. Ray nodded. And that's not all. Your husband knew something was buried in those deeds. Something that made the ranch worth more than just money. He slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a copy of an old survey map, with a section of land near the north pasture circled in red ink. Your husband marked this before he died. I think he was trying to protect it. I stared at the map, my hands trembling. Protect it from who? Ray's eyes darkened. From the very people Hannah just handed it to. Before I could respond, the bell above the diner door jingled. Hannah walked in, her heels sharp against the floor, her eyes locking onto me. My stomach dropped. She wasn't supposed to know I was here. She slid into the booth beside me, her smile thin as glass. Well, isn't this cozy? Mom, you should have told me you were meeting new friends. Saves me the trouble of following you. Ray's jaw tightened. You don't know what you've gotten into, Hannah. But Hannah didn't even look at him. She leaned close to me, her voice a whisper sharp enough to cut. Whatever he told you, don't believe it. The ranch is gone, and if you keep digging, you'll lose more than land. You'll lose me. Her hand brushed my purse, where the check was hidden, and I realized with a jolt, she already knew about the message. I pulled my purse closer, my knuckles white. Lose you, I repeated, my voice trembling. Hannah, you've already sold me out. Her jaw clenched, but she didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned her gaze to Ray, her eyes narrowing like she knew exactly who he was. I told you to stay out of this, she hissed. Ray leaned forward, his voice calm but firm. Linda has a right to know the truth. Your father trusted me with that map, Hannah. He knew this day would come. Something flickered in her expression. Fear, anger, guilt. Don't you dare bring Dad into this, she snapped. He left it in my name for a reason. My chest tightened. Did he or did you trick him into it? The diner went quiet, the only sound the low hum of the coffee machine. Hannah's face flushed. She looked like the little girl I raised for a split second, but then her mask snapped back into place. You don't understand, Mom. That land wasn't safe. Dad made promises he couldn't keep, and when he died, they came to me. I didn't have a choice. Ray shook his head. You had a choice, Hannah. You chose money. She shot him a glare, sharp enough to kill. You think you're some kind of savior? You're just as dirty as the rest of them. My hands trembled around the map. Who's them, Hannah? Who did you sell to? Her lips parted, but before she could speak, the diner door creaked open again. A tall man in a gray suit stepped inside, polished shoes clicking on the floor. He didn't even look around before heading straight for our booth. His smile was practiced, cold. Mrs. Walker, he said smoothly, ignoring Hannah and Ray as if they didn't exist. I believe you have something that belongs to us. His eyes flicked to the map in my hands. Hannah went pale. You shouldn't have come here, she whispered. The man's smile widened. And yet, here I am. Ray's hand slid toward his jacket, his body tense. My pulse thundered. Whoever this man was, he wasn't just a buyer, he was the storm my husband had warned me about. And in that moment, I realized, Hannah hadn't just sold the ranch. She had sold us to something far more dangerous. The man in the gray suit slid into the booth across from me like he owned the place, his presence swallowing the air around us. He didn't bother to introduce himself. He didn't need to. His calm, steady gaze told me everything. This was the man behind the deal, the one my husband had feared, the one Hannah had chosen to stand with. Ray's jaw tightened, his hand hovering near his jacket. You've got no business here, Carter, he growled. So he had a name. Carter. Carter's smile never faltered. On the contrary, Ray, I have every business here. Mrs. Walker is in possession of sensitive documents. Documents that were never meant to leave the ranch. And as far as I'm concerned, she has two options: hand them over, or disappear. My fingers clenched around the map until it crumpled. My voice shook, but I forced the words out. Disappear? That ranch was my life. My husband's life. You stole it. Carter leaned closer, his eyes cold as ice. We didn't steal it. Hannah signed it over willingly. And for a generous price, I might add. His gaze flicked to my daughter, who shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Isn't that right? Hannah's face went red, but she didn't deny it. My heart cracked. Ray slammed his palm against the table, making the silverware jump. Linda, don't listen to him. That map proves your husband never trusted Carter. It's why he marked the land in red. There's something there. Something Carter doesn't want you to find. Carter's eyes narrowed. Careful, Ray. You know what happens to people who talk too much. Ray's hand inched closer to his jacket. You'll have to go through me first. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Hannah reached for my arm, her voice shaking. Mom, just give him the map, please. You don't know what he's capable of. I jerked away from her touch. No, Hannah, you knew, and you still gave him everything. For the first time, I saw her mask slip. Tears welled in her eyes. I did it for us. They threatened me. They said, if I didn't sell, they'd come after you. After me. After everything. I thought I could protect us by giving them what they wanted. Ray barked a bitter laugh. And you believed them. You don't know Carter. You feed him once, he'll never stop eating. Carter's expression hardened. The smile was gone. Enough. He reached across the table so fast, I flinched. But before his hand touched the map, Ray pulled a gun from his jacket and leveled it at him. Gasps rippled through the diner as a waitress dropped her tray and scrambled away. Linda, Ray said firmly. His eyes locked on Carter. You need to go. Take the map. Find what your husband hid. It's the only way to end this. Carter didn't move, but his eyes burned into mine. You walk out that door with that map, Mrs. Walker, and you won't make it far. My men are already outside. My blood ran cold. Slowly, I turned toward the diner's window. Through the fogged glass, I saw two dark SUVs idling by the curb, engines running. Hannah's breath hitched beside me. Mom, please, don't make this worse. Ray's voice was a low growl. She deserves the truth. You're not taking it from her? The diner felt like a cage closing in on me. Everyone frozen, waiting for me to choose. My daughter, caught between guilt and fear. Ray, defying a man who could crush him in a heartbeat. Carter.com and deadly, like he already owned the outcome. My hands shook as I folded the map and slipped it into my purse. I'm leaving, I said, my voice louder than I expected. And if you try to stop me, you'll regret it. Carter tilted his head, studying me like a specimen. Then, with a faint smirk, he leaned back in his seat. Very well, Mrs. Walker, but remember this moment, because the next time we meet, you'll wish you'd listened. Ray motioned me toward the door. Keeping the gun trained on Carter, Hannah started to rise, torn, but Carter caught her wrist and yanked her back into the booth. Not you, he said sharply. You stay. I froze. She's my daughter. Carter's smile returned, cruel and calm. And now she's mine. Ray's voice cut through the tension. Linda, go. Tears blurred my vision as I stumbled toward the exit, clutching the purse like it held my soul. My daughter's voice cracked behind me, raw and desperate. Mom, don't leave me with him. The diner door slammed shut behind me, the cold night air biting my skin. My breath came in sharp gasps as I stumbled toward the road, the weight of the map dragging at my side, and then, from behind me, the sound that froze me in place, the sharp crack of a gunshot. The gunshot rang in my ears, and for a second I couldn't breathe. I spun around, heart hammering, expecting to see Ray on the floor or Carter with blood on his hands. But instead, the diner was chaos, customers screaming, dishes shattering. Hannah crying out. Ray stumbled back, clutching his arm, blood soaking through his sleeve. Carter still sat in the booth.com, the gun in his hand smoking. His eyes met mine through the glass like he had just signed a contract, not shot a man. Before I could run back inside, two men from the SUVs pushed through the door, black coats brushing against panicked customers. They moved like shadows, fast and efficient, grabbing Ray and dragging him toward the exit. Carter followed slowly, dragging Hannah by the wrist. Her terrified eyes locked on mine. I pressed my palm to the glass, shaking my head in disbelief. My voice broke as I screamed, "Let her go," but the words vanished into the night. Carter stopped just outside the diner, his face lit by the glow of the neon sign. He looked at me with that cold smile that made my skin crawl. "Mrs. Walker," he said, his voice carrying in the quiet street. "You have 48 hours. Bring me the map, and maybe you'll see your daughter again. Fail." He let the silence stretch, then shoved Hannah into the SUV. She pounded the window, tears streaming down her face. "Mom, please." The door slammed shut, tires screeched. In seconds, both SUVs disappeared into the night, leaving only the echo of my daughter's cry hanging in the air. I stood frozen in the street, the purse heavy on my shoulder, the map inside burning like a secret I didn't yet understand. My world had been ripped apart in a matter of hours, my daughter stolen, my husband's warnings coming true, my trust shattered. Ray, bleeding but conscious, staggered toward me, clutching his arm. "Linda," he rasped, "you don't have time to cry. That map is the only thing keeping you and Hannah alive. Whatever your husband left behind, it's more dangerous than you think." I gripped his hand, my voice trembling. "Then tell me, Ray. Tell me what he was hiding." Ray's jaw clenched. He leaned in close, his breath ragged. "Your husband? He wasn't just a rancher. He was working with people Carter fears. That land hides more than cattle and crops. It hides power. And now it's in your hands." The night swallowed his words. My knees almost gave out, but I steadied myself. My daughter's face, pale and terrified, was etched in my mind. 48 hours. That's all I had. And then the diner door creaked open behind me, and a figure stepped out of the shadows. The figure stepped out slowly, the neon light catching on a familiar face I hadn't seen in years. My breath caught in my throat. It was Mark, my late husband's brother. Only he wasn't supposed to be alive. I stumbled back, clutching Ray's arm for balance. "Mark." My voice cracked. "We buried you 15 years ago. How is this possible?" He gave me a small, grim smile, one that didn't reach his eyes. "Linda, what you buried was a lie. Your husband needed you to believe I was gone. It was the only way to keep the truth safe." Ray's eyes widened. "You're the ghost he warned me about," he muttered. Mark nodded once, his gaze landing on the purse hanging from my shoulder. "That map belongs to me, Linda. Your husband trusted me to guard it, but Carter moved too fast. He found Hannah. Now everything we built is in danger." My head spun, my pulse racing. "You let me think you were dead. For this, I let you think I was dead to protect you," Mark said, his voice low but sharp. "But now Carter has your daughter, and you'll have to decide, trust me, or watch Hannah vanish forever." Ray stepped forward, blood still dripping down his arm. "Don't listen to him. He's been playing both sides for years." I looked from Ray to Mark, my heart in my throat. Two men, two different versions of the truth. both claiming to know what my husband wanted, both demanding the map. My daughter's face flashed in my mind again, her hands pounding against that SUV window, her voice breaking as she cried for me. My grip tightened on the purse strap. The world spun around me, but one thing was clear. Whoever I trusted in that moment would decide whether Hannah lived, or whether I lost everything all over again. And then the wind picked up, slamming the diner door shut with a crack that echoed down the empty street. In the silence that followed, I realized one of these men was lying, and the other held the key to saving my daughter. Mark's stare pierced through me, steady and unblinking, while Ray leaned heavily against the diner wall, blood dripping onto the pavement. Both men were waiting, daring me to choose. My hand trembled on the purse strap, the weight of that map pulling me down like an anchor. I thought of Hannah, her laughter as a little girl running through the pastures, her stubbornness when she grew older, and her desperate cry through the SUV window just hours ago. She was my daughter, and I would burn the whole world down before I let her be taken from me. I straightened my back, my voice steady though my insides shook. "Neither of you is getting this map," I said, pulling it from the purse and holding it to my chest, "because it isn't about land or money or power. It's about my family, and I'll be damned if I let either of you use her as leverage." Ray's face hardened. "Linda, don't," but before he could finish, I tore the map in half, then again, shredding it into pieces until the wind carried the fragments down the dark street. Both men lunged forward, their voices colliding in anger and shock, but it was too late. The secret they fought over was gone. Mark's eyes blazed with fury, but there was something else there to fear. "You've doomed us all," he hissed before turning and disappearing into the shadows. Ray sank to the ground, clutching his wound. "Or maybe," he whispered through clenched teeth, "you just saved more than you'll ever know." I stood frozen in the night air, my heart pounding, the shredded pieces of my husband's secret vanishing into the darkness. Hannah was still out there, but now Carter no longer had the one thing he wanted. For the first time in weeks, I felt the faintest flicker of power return to me. This fight wasn't over, but it would be on my terms now. I walked toward Ray, my voice cold but firm. "Get up, we're going to get my daughter back. And when we do, Carter will learn what it feels like to lose everything." The ranch was gone, the map was gone, but I was still here, and I was ready for war. If this story gripped you to the end, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the biggest betrayals come from the ones closest to home.